Hey guys, welcome back to Shep Talk. Welcome back to another Shep Talk movie review. But before we get into the review, real quick guys, I want to take a minute and do some admin notes. If you like this video, if you like what you see here, please remember to like, share, and subscribe. It helps my channel out greatly, and I truly appreciate it. Now, let's get back onto my review of Beerfest. Beerfest is directed by, of course, Chandrasekhar. It stars the Broken Lizard guys, Steve Lemmy, Paul Soter, Eric Stolhansky, Kevin Heffernan, and of course Jay Chandrasekhar. Beerfest also features Cloris Leachman, Jürgen Prochow, I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, Nate Faxon, Will Fort, Eric Christensen Olsen, Monique, and Ralph Moeller, and tons of other people in there, guys, that I'm sure I'm leaving out. But I felt those guys were kind of the main people to include in this. Quick synopsis: two brothers travel back to Germany to bury their late grandfather when they come upon a Uber drinking competition called Beerfest that happens to be run by their German family that considers their American counterparts to be a beer thief, and their grandmother happened to be a whore. Here we are, guys, on the fifth movie for Broken Lizard. This one came out right after The Dukes of Hazzard, and the budget for this movie was $17 million. Like I said in the Dukes of Hazzard movie review, $50 million was pretty much their pinnacle, and now we're seeing them going back down to more of the budgets that they've worked with before. There's still a lot of money. It still beats Super Troopers and Club Dread. So it's still, I'd say, Hollywood numbers, but it's definitely lower than $50 million. One of the praises I will give with this movie is that I think even with that in-between money, $17 million, that they did a great job. I think they did a good job balancing between that big budget Hollywood movie and that low budget indie kind of movie. I think Beerfest falls like right between those two. I'm going to be upfront and honest, as I always try to be. Beerfest is probably my favorite Broken Lizard movie. It is the one that I will always recommend first, and I know some people disagree and put Super Troopers up there. I will say Super Troopers is definitely a close second for me, but I think to me Beerfest is a more complete movie. For me, when I say that, I'm saying that Beerfest to me feels more like the Super Troopers genre or Super Troopers movie, but with a little bit more polish. They've had their rise of stardom and it kind of fell. And Beerfest to me was showing that they learned their lessons from Hollywood, they incorporated them, and this is more true to the nature of Broken Lizard. And again, I believe it's the best Super Trooper, or best Broken Lizard movie out there. For the most part, one of the things I'll always applaud Beerfest with is their use of the actors. Not only do we now have the core group back together again and doing their comedic timing, their comedic, gold, I'd say. But the other actors don't feel like they're just on screen to do a purpose. I mean, their German counterparts felt real. They had some motivation. They didn't like their Americans. They believed their ancestors had stolen their beer recipe, and they thought their grandmother was a whore. And they just seem to have, especially when you have comedians like Will Fort and Nate Faxon, and I'd even say Eric Christensen Olsen, who I forgot he was in this one again, and I loved him in Fired Up. But, I think having those kind of comedians against your guys' comedians, it just seemed like a perfect lineup. And also, it really helps that, once again, the Broken Lizard guys are taking inspiration from stuff that happened in their lives. When they're doing their Super Trooper tour in Australia, they had like a drinking competition with some Australians. And there's other stuff that they've pulled from the real life that they brought and put onto the big screen. And speaking of actors that have followed him around, this time, again, when I saw this and realized who this person was, I was like, I couldn't believe it. James Roday is in this one again. Like the Dukes of Hazzard, though, he had a more prominent role as the rival race car driver. But James Roday in this one plays the German messenger that comes and tells the German team that, hey, the U.S. has found your drinking recipe, and they are selling it. And of course, that is not taken very well, and sadly, bad things happen to the messenger. But I do love that the Broken Lizard group does try to incorporate people back into their movies, or give them those little cameo spots, especially with actors that I have come to find and love after their debuts on Broken Lizard movies. One of the things I'll say about Beerfest, even though again that the budget is $17 million, it is their second highest budget so far to date. They've grown. They show that with good writing, good acting, good directors, doesn't matter how much money you have, you can make a really good movie. And I know $17 million is nothing to laugh at. I know it's not, indie budget movie, but it still provides, it's still not as big as these Hollywood budget movies. And I think it shows that when they focus on stuff that they know and love, they can provide us with a great movie. If I did have to pick one plot line, one storyline that I didn't really gravitate towards, didn't see, is the Monique storyline. I don't know, I didn't research or see if there's any reasoning behind her being cast for that role. I just think, in my mind, I'm assuming that they knew her and they met her in LA, like, hey, we got a role for you, and they brought her on board and didn't really have like a fleshed out storyline for her, and it just felt like she was just there to be there, and that would probably be the one drawback I'd say about Broken Lizards, is that Monique just didn't feel right for me. I understand that she's a fellow comedian, and they probably were like, hey, want to come onto our show? We can put you in a role, and that kind of developed. With that being said, guys, Shep is going to give Beerfest 4 out of 5 Sheps. It's one of my favorite movies. Like I said, I'll always recommend it. It's going to be my top recommendation. Right after that would be Super Troopers. But guys, that's all I have for you today. Have you seen Beerfest? Let me know down in the comments down below. Let me know what your favorite Broken Lizard film is too. But if you like what you see here, please remember to hit that subscribe button. It does help me greatly, and I truly appreciate it. And if you did like this video, check out one of these over here. There's surely something else that you'll find that you'll like. But again, guys, that's all I have for you today. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next review.